All right, yep, I'm in there. All right, what's up guys? My name is Jared Kaufman. I'm a framer in Colorado. Today we're gonna be framing this wraparound stairs on this deck we framed a little while ago. So yeah, we're gonna go over that, how to do the corner stringers, inside and outside stringers, and how to calculate and cut your common stringers as well. So the first step in measuring for our stairs is one, we need to figure out what our run is gonna be and what our rise is gonna be. So in this case, we're doing 1 foot runs instead of 10 inches minimum is usually what you do, since they want this to be a little bit more of a feature and more of just a casual kind of step down rather than the quickest way to get up and down kind of deal. We're going with a 12-inch tread. So basically at this height, we're gonna need 2 steps. So we've got 2 feet out, and then our height, what's important with the height is we need to determine our height from where the stairs start to where they end, because obviously I can't just measure down to the gravel. So I've got this laser here that I'm going to set on top. I can check my height to my green dot here. It's about 2 3/16, and then I can measure to the concrete over here. So here I've got 22 7/16. Minus 2 3/16 is going to give me 20 1/4, 20 4/16. So that is going to be my total rise for this, and then I already know that my run is 24 inches. Now we can go to the sawhorses and lay out how we mark that on the stringer. All right, so I've got my run side and my rise side. I'm going to start drawing out a run and a rise. I'm going to mark my 12-inch right there. Come down here. Mark that, and that's going to be my first riser. Now I'm going to mark 1.5 inches and 3 inches on the square where that lines up. I'll explain that in a little bit. Now on the top side, I'm going to slide up until the 12 mark is just on this side of my pencil line. And I'll mark that, a little mark here. And then we're going to slide back down to the bottom. We can mark just a short section of that upper crow's foot and as much as we can of the longer one. So now that number should be our total rise minus 1.5 inches to that second crow's foot. That looks like 5 3/4, which is perfect. I'm going to come over here. Mark the same thing. I'm going to mark that with a straight edge. So the reason I subtract the 1.5 inches from here is because, again, we're going to add 1.5 inches of decking onto the top of this, and then that is going to make us reach our total height. So we added 1.5 inches to the top, and we subtracted 1.5 inches from the bottom, so that way it'll all even out nicely. Now this, we installed that 2x4 along the bottom base of our stairs, and this is going to give me something for the stringer to rest against. I like to use something like a smart square to lay these out because I can put it flat. I'm just going to mark 3.5. I'm going to go a little heavy because it's better to have a little bit of extra room. All right, now that cuts out as well. So now up here at the top, this is something I do that is not super common in stairs. I haven't really seen other people do it. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to, instead of having this stop here and cutting that way, we're going to run it to the back side of our beam, and then we're going to terminate it there. So we can run a strap up the back of the stringer and up the back of the beam where it won't be seen and it won't affect our decking. So where this stringer is going, it's got a triple beam, which is 4.5 inches wide. And the height of our beam there is 7 1/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put our total rise up from this stringer line, which is 7 1/4. And then I'm going to mark the width of the beam, which is about 7 1/8, a little bit light. So you can see it's only about an 1/8 inch different from right there. Now that is going to get squared off right there, and then I'll square off this back cut here, just like that. And now we've got our stringer all ready to cut. All right, so now with our first one cut, always test your first one before you go and cut more. We can set our notch right on that 2x4. We can slide our backside up to the beam. You can see this little section here lines up right with our beam. Our notch lines up well with the 2x4. And the last thing to check is you set your level on the tread. But that looks really good. I line up really well with my beam. I line up well on the notch. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut some more of these, and then we'll get to our hip/corner stringers. All right, so we're using the stringer template against the beam to mark where our 2x4 goes. So you can see how the 2x4 fits nicely into that notch. Stringer looks nice and flush. We're just going to mark the back side of it right there. We'll snap that, we'll run that full 2x4, and we can run all these stringers. Other side of the line. There you go. So now the next thing for us to figure out is our hip stringers, or our corner stringers. So the process is basically the same, but the biggest thing is our height doesn't change. From here to there is still going to be our 21 3/4 number. The difference is our run, because from here to here is 2 feet, but from here to here is a little bit longer than 2 feet. And there's a way that we can figure that out using math. So because our corners are 90 degrees, this is a 45-degree angle offset for our corner stringer. So what we can do is we can do a 45 pitch, 12-inch run, and hit diagonal, and that'll give us what our new run is, which is 17 inches. So now we're keeping our 7 1/4 rise, but our run is running all the way up to 17 inches. Let's make sure my 7 1/4 stayed the same, line up my 17, and now I'm ready to lay out the stringer. So I'm basically going to do the same process. I'm going to do my first run, and then a rise. I'm going to mark this so I have it. My 17 to the outside of that pencil line. Mark the next one. So now on this tread. I know I did it on the straight ones, but because this one dies into a corner, I'm not going to go up the back side of the beam. So I'm going to mark this right there. If I have a straight edge, I can use that. I'm going to pull my 7 1/4 number.
2 5/8.
And same thing, I'm going to go minus 1 1/2 and minus 1 1/2 again. And over here, I know that that is going to be 5 3/4. Mark that.
So right above 2 1/2. 2 5/8. You see it?
So now for this spot here, instead of going 3 1/2, I need to do the same concept I did with my regular stringers. Or yeah. So I'm doing 45 pitch, 3 1/2 inch run for a diagonal of 4 15/16. I'm just going to call it 5 inches so I have a little bit of wiggle room. Perfect. So now with our corner stringer laid out, we're going to cut it. Now what's important is all of our vertical lines going this way are cutting at a 45, either this way or this way. It doesn't make a difference. I'll show that later. All that matters is that they're all going the same way. So if I cut this one this way, then I need to cut this one this way, and even this little one for the 2x4. And then all of the cuts going across are just going to be straight, just like usual. So here's our corner stringer. See all those 45 cuts going the same way. So now I'm going to use this as a template. And I'm going to cut 3 more, so I have 4 total. Because I can use these for both the inside and the outside corners. And I'll explain that too. Alright, so with all 4 of our corner pieces cut, here's the thing. All of these are cut interchangeably. Now they are angling opposite directions, but the thing is, I can change the sequence. This is an inside corner because you can see it's going to butt in tight there. And we have an inside corner for that. But if I just change the order and ran them like this, now it would be an outside corner. So that's why I said it doesn't really matter which way you do it, as long as you have one of each. But in this case, we need 1 inside corner and 1 outside corner. Because our inside corner is going here and there, and our outside corner is going here. So we need 1 of each. So that's why I have 4 total cut, So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue them up and nail them together really well. I don't want these splitting apart over time. And that's going to keep this nice and solid. Alright, so here is our outside corner stringer, glued up, nailed up. See, we've got our seat cut on there. So I'm going to set that inside here, drop it right in, a little tap to seat it nice and tight. And what we're looking for on this one is about 7 3/16. Looks pretty good. I can probably tap it down a little bit tighter. Yeah, that is just beautiful. So now our hip stringer, because to have this go to the back side of this beam would be really pretty odd and the stringer wouldn't actually be quite long enough. What I did is we did our dual straps on the outside, so that's going to sit flush right in here. I'm going to bend these in. Alright, so same thing, we've got this seat cut, nice to fit inside this 2x4. So I can basically set this in there, and then I'm just going to slide this down until I get the rise that I want. It's going to be right there. Thanks, Tay. And now, because this situation is kind of unavoidable with the hardware being there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the backside of our fascia board with the planer to create a recess to go right over this so it won't affect the finished product. So installing these hangers on the stairs, that is what is going to allow us to hang these from the beam. So we split them half and half goes up the beam and half goes onto the stringer. And these aren't double stringers, these are just tacked together for while we were cutting them, because we were cutting them with a 10 1/4 saw. And we just leave them that way until they're ready to install. It just makes them easier to manage.
All the way up.
So now fasten to the top, throw my square on our 2x4, and adjust it until our first stringer is square. Do a couple nails down, step on it to make sure it's tight against the board. And now that allows me to get this stringer in. So I can pull from my existing one to get my 16 on center layout, just like that. I square that across so I can use it for both sides. Now all I need to do is get a measurement from this heel square, which is about 6 3/8. So now I can mark that on my normal template. So now I can trace this. The only difference is I'm going to hook this and pull that number, which was 6 3/8. And that is my long point for a 45. Now with this cut, throw that on my layout that I squared across. Alright, so that is our full deck stair frame, ready for decking to go on it tomorrow. I hope this was beneficial. I'll probably do a video on the decking too, if that interests you. Just let me know.